Thank you, Director Hickson, for allowing us to be here tonight as we recognize our track teams and our coaches. First, I would like to recognize the coaches for that team. Head coach Alshai, assistant coach Jerry Lawson, assistant coach Sam Barton, assistant coach Sarah Klontz, and assistant coach John Ellis Davis. A couple of accomplishments they pulled off this year. They took 19 to state, had the highest team finish in Hawkins County schools history in all sports, and they produced a state champion, which you'll see. They had 5 collegiate track scholarship signings and had a team GPA of 3.65 cumulative. At this time, this could not have happened outside of these guys putting in their time from the first week of June last year to the last week of May this year. And these coaches put a whole lot of time and effort and dedication into these teams. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to our head coach, Mr. Alshai, for the individual accomplishments by our student athletes.
I'd like to thank the board and Mr. Hickson for recognizing the volunteer high school track team. We had a lot of success, we really did, and I'd like to call up the track team. These are qualifiers for the TSSAA state track meet, which was held in Murfreesboro, and then the actual decathlon pentathlon competition was in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I've got another individual that placed 6th in the decathlon. He's going to step forward as well. But briefly, I'd like to go ahead and just go over the volunteer track team accomplishments. The girls, they were runner-up in the Big 8 conference ahead of Science Hill. They had also stepped up in classification for that particular meet. They later became the Three Rivers Conference champions. That meet was held over in Elizabethton. Later, they were runner-up at the sectional out of 32 teams from Chattanooga to Bristol. The girls were 3rd place at the TSSAA state track meet out of 84 high schools throughout the AA classification across the state. The boys were Three Rivers Conference champions. They were 11th place at the TSSAA state track meet, once again out of 84 high schools. I would like to go ahead and thank Mr. Jeremy Bailey, our athletic director. He was supportive, always provided us with resources, and more importantly, he was always there to support our athletes and coaches. I also like to recognize several of our coaches, if Mr. Lawson and Mr. Barton would step forward. I'll talk about Sam Barton. I've got a lot of tremendous respect for Mr. Barton. I started as volunteer head track coach back 6 years ago, and one of the first things and probably one of the most important things I did was hire Coach Barton. He's been there for 6 years. He's committed. He's an exceptional coach. He knows the technical side of the hurdle events and the jumping events, and a lot of credit regarding our track team. He deserves that. He's just a tremendous individual. Jerry Lawson, Coach Lawson's been with me at 2 different middle schools, and also brought him on board for as assistant coach at the volunteer track team. This guy, he's probably the best motivator of students, whether academically or athletically, that I know, and the results speak for themselves. And the kids just respond to it. He inspires them, and he deserves a lot of credit on what we accomplished this year. Student recognitions. Emily Christian was a state champion in the 300 hurdles. She was a 4th state champion from Volunteer High School. The last one was in 2005. She won the 300 hurdle event. I'm going to go ahead and show that here momentarily. Charlie Wilson was on the 4x800 meter relay, which finished 3rd in Murfreesboro. Ethan Council, he was also on that 4x800 meter relay team. He finished third. He also earned a scholarship to Tuscan University, where he'll compete there this upcoming fall. Grant Weininger, he really came on at the end of the year, finished sixth at the state decathlon. Never had really pole vaulted, and we gave him one practice. And what did you end up pole vaulting? About 8'6", 8 feet 6 inches. That was pretty remarkable that day. Thomas Galloway finished fourth in the discus. Caden Cox, he was on our 4x400 meter relay team, which finished sixth. Lisa McKinney was also on the 4x400 meter relay team, which finished sixth. She earned a track scholarship to Emory and Henry. She'll be competing in cross country this fall. Taylor Castle, she competed in 4 different events, the 4x200, the 4x100, and then she finished, I think she was seeded 6th going into the final of the 200 meter dash. She finished third with a personal best of 26.06, which is also our school record. Sydney Hamilton, Sydney was on the 4x400 meter relay team. J.C. Begley was also seeded 6th going into the final of the 800 meter run, where she ran a personal best of 2 minutes, 25.08 seconds. She finished third, had an outstanding race, an outstanding season. Aaliyah Lasser is a freshman. Aaliyah is the daughter of Chad Lasser at Cherokee, and we're thankful that she was on our team. And she finished third in the pole vault as a freshman, and where we garnered 6 points. And she just had a tremendous day also in the hurdles, finished 6th. Alyssa Chappell was on our 4x100 meter relay team. Alyssa's going to compete for Emory and Henry and earned a track scholarship, and she'll compete this upcoming indoor season and outdoor season. Sarah Weininger was on both our 4x2 and 4x100 meter relay teams, also finished 5th in the 100 meter hurdles. And then I also had already introduced the coaches. All right, this time, when you go to a state meet, I mean, it comes down to who wants it the most the last 50, 20 meters. I mean, that really what separates folks. And I shared that with them before we went down there. Whoever has the will to win is going to be the one that's going to finish, with the state title. And we talked about that before we went. And, it was a joy for our coaching staff, and really it uplifted everyone when we saw this race here. So this is the AA classification 300 meter hurdle race. This is Emily Christian's race. And I'll go ahead and see if I can get this going here. Volume works on this. She's in second place right now. At this point, you got a lot of lactic acid buildup where it's difficult to finish, and as you can see, they're stride for stride going to the finish line. But that's what's, unfortunately things like that happen, but it was a tremendous race for Emily, and we had a tremendous season. So I'd like to thank everybody.